Okay, great. Good morning, everyone. I'm calling this meeting of the Public Safety Communications Task Force to order. It is 11:15 on March 26, 2025, and I'm Barbara Neal. As a reminder, the meeting's being recorded, and that recording will be posted to the task force webpage following the meeting. We will start with our roll call. If you could verbally acknowledge your presence when I call your name, that would be great. Jen Morrison.
I'm here.
Paul White.
I am here as well.
Okay. Michael Wright.
I am here. Good morning.
Morning. Ron Kumetz.
I am present.
Okay, good morning. Jim Mack.
Here.
Morning. And Mike Dungis.
I am here.
Okay, good morning. Also joining us today is Emily Mullaney as our administrative support, and our project management partners, Rick and Dom from Televate.
Morning.
Morning.
Good morning, everyone.
We also have on the call from Mission Critical Partners, Bonnie Maney and Phil Sisk.
Good morning.
Did I miss anyone? Nope, I don't think so. Looks like we have one member of the public. Senator Renner, would you like to introduce yourself?
Good morning, everyone. I'm just here to listen. Thank you.
Okay, great. Thanks. Okay, moving on then to approval of the agenda. The agenda was distributed to task force members by email. It's also available on the webpage. Do task force members have any changes to the agenda? Ready? Hearing nothing, we'll consider the agenda approved and move on to approval of the minutes from the March 2nd, 2020, I'm sorry, March 12th, 2025 regular meeting number 46. Any changes needed to these minutes? Okay, do we have a motion to approve them?
Make a
I will
motion
make a
to
motion to
approve
approve.
as second.
Jim, thank you, Ron, or vice versa. Any discussion? Okay, all in favor of approving the minutes from March 12th, raise your hand or indicate by saying aye.
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 All right, perfect. The minutes are approved. Okay, moving on to public comment. Senator Renner mentioned that she's here to listen only today. And there does not appear to be anybody else from the public on the call. I'll pause to make sure. Okay, I think we're good then. Project updates. Dom, I'll hand it off to you.
Thank you, Barb, and good morning, everyone. Our focus, of course, the last couple of weeks has been on the draft system planning report, which, of course, is out for public comment and has been reviewed by many of the stakeholders. We had stakeholder meetings the week of March 10th, total of 3, and those were fairly well attended. We also had 2 public-oriented listening sessions the week of March 17th. Well, actually, the first one I don't believe was attended by anyone. The second one was in the evening, and that was attended by a larger group, and we got some comments during that. So we have been compiling the comments, received both orally and also written comments. We have a number of comments that have been received through the task force email and also through the website. There were a few over the last couple of days, which I will be forwarding along, that came through on the through the task force emails. So I will be forwarding those. MCP has been working to catalog all of those and record those. And then at some point, we'll have some recommendations as to any type of action that we recommend based on those comments. We also had ongoing the comments that were provided from the task force on the draft. It was actually version 2, working version 2, that the task force provided input to. We classified those as some that had to be um, addressed immediately before public comment. Those were addressed. There are additional comments that are currently being worked on by MCP, and I believe most of those are complete as well, although we'll be seeing the results of those shortly. Right now, the information to the public is that we are receiving comments until the 28th, which would be this Friday. I believe there might be some discussion coming in terms of extending that comment period. And also last week, we held the funding workshop in Waterbury there, and we had good participation from a number of legislative representatives within the state. There were a number
Can
as well.
Can I interrupt? It's not legislative reps. They were all busy. It was actually staff from the treasurer's office and
Okay.
other offices in state government.
All right, thank you, Jen.
You're welcome.
Yes, I know there were a number that weren't able to attend, and we have tentatively set April 21st for a follow-up meeting to get input from all of those who were not able to attend last week. So we have those, we have comments from that and information from that session as well. So all of these comments will be, of course, compiled, and as I mentioned, we'll be reviewing at a later date to determine how those should be handled and incorporated into a revision of the document and how they will be addressed. And the one other item I have is, I guess I'll look to Jen to see if there's any update on the public release of the inventory and assessment report, which to my knowledge has not occurred yet.
No, it hasn't. We were wrestling with two sections of the inventory. As you know, we redacted things according to public records law. We then gave each of the agencies 48 hours to read back through what we proposed to redact and tell us if they believed exemptions applied for other parts. There were two agencies that initially indicated that they wanted extra redactions, and they are not public. They are not municipalities. So it took a
Okay.
little time to figure out if there was an exemption that applied for them. I think we're going to have that resolved today. That's my understanding, and probably be able to get that inventory posted later today. That's my
Sure,
hope.
thank you. We did receive some comments from the Crosswinds, who is the maker of the Valcor product based on the report. And we are setting up a meeting. Rick, I believe you have that set up for next Tuesday to discuss those specific comments with representatives from Valcor.
That's correct, Tom.
That's all I have today, Barb.
Okay, thank you, Dom. Bonnie or Phil, does Mission Critical have anything to add to the project updates other than what Dom covered?
We do not at this time.
Okay, great. And any questions from the task force for Televator Mission Critical? Righty. So next agenda item is executive session if needed. It is not needed. So we'll move on to new business. We have one item listed on the agenda under new business, which is to discuss additional public input opportunities. And Dom alluded to this a minute ago. Just to tee up the conversation, in the town halls and listening sessions, we've heard several comments about stakeholders perhaps not having enough time to read the system planning report thoroughly and or to digest that information. Jen and I discussed this last week. and think it might be wise to extend the public comment period for an additional 2 weeks. That is until Friday, April 11. But we're looking for thoughts from task force members on that idea. What do you think?
I agree with that 100%. I think we did get a lot of feedback that they just didn't have time. So it's takes a lot of time out of everyone's busy schedule to read 160 pages of material that most are not really fully able to even digest or understand. So I think extending it would definitely be worthwhile, and maybe even adding, I know that would probably be challenging too, maybe one or two more public sessions to allow any other remaining folks to jump on.
Yes, I think we
important-
discussed that too, Jen. I forgot to mention that. Go ahead.
Yeah,
Jen,
and
sorry.
I think that it's also important that we allow time for people to if they bother to read the inventory report, to be able to read that and offer anything that raises for them into the discussion. So given that it's taken some time to get this inventory out the door, I think that allowing extra time is prudent. So, and I'm
Yeah.
totally open to another, town hall meeting that makes good sense.
I see Ron's hand is up. Go ahead, Ron.
My observation from the meetings that I participated in was that we did not get a very large amount of participation from actual, first responder, fire, police, EMS agencies. But we did get a huge amount of input, relatively speaking, based on the number of them that there are, from dispatch agencies and dispatchers, many of whom were irate because they thought we were going to close their facilities and send them all to unemployment offices and things like that. I think that skews the input from these meetings a lot. I think we need to figure out how to get the law enforcement and EMS and fire people to weigh in on what works for them, rather than let the dispatch agencies steer the boat. I don't think that's the right way to do this.
So I'm wondering if we put something out to all of the stakeholders again to announce that we're extending this comment period and adding an additional listening session. We could add a special invitation or request or plea, whatever the right word is, for that type of input.
It would make sense to do that in conjunction with saying, hey, the inventory report's out now and you can find it on our website.
Okay. We'll do that outreach, Ron. And Mike Dungis, I see your hand is up.
Yeah, I just want to second the outreach. I think
Okay.
I think the idea of doing the additional work and the additional listening is really important. And I think the key will be the outreach to say, this is like your final opportunity to comment on this information. We want your feedback. It's critical to our process. Something to that effect.
Okay. Point taken, Paul.
Thank you. I agree with everything that's been said. I just want to throw out a question to keep in mind as we think about extending deadlines is, what, if anything, do we hope to get for legislative action this session? And by extending any of these deadlines, are we jeopardizing our ability to get that, whatever that might be?
I think
That's a great
we're
question.
set. Go ahead, Jen. You go.
Well, I've been thinking about that quite a bit. We don't have an ask we've made no decision about which priorities to move forward with. So it's not like we have an ask to say, hey, can you take up a bill about requiring standardization of training for dispatchers, or any of the recommendations that we are inevitably going to have to prioritize as a group. So I don't think we have any operational asks. The one, I guess, limiting factor that Barb and I were thinking about was the money, access to money to continue to have access to subject matter experts to move the project forward. It is our assessment that we already have access to the first $2 million. We have to go to joint fiscal committee to access the second $1 million. But that we also have access to the 4.5 million if this group determines that pilot projects are indicated, we have access to use that money as well. So I'm not convinced that there's something we need to get across the finish line in this session. And further, I think that to try and hustle because we're under an artificial time clock of the legislative session would probably be injurious to the deliberations that we need to have as a group about how we prioritize the recommendations coming out of the final draft. So in my mind, we're in an okay place financially to keep the project moving. And it gives us time to get our ducks in a row before the next session and have some coherent asks prepared.
Okay, thank you.
Okay, it sounds like there's a consensus here that we should extend the deadline. Oh, Dom, go ahead.
Thanks. Yeah, thanks. I don't have any, anything contrary to that. Just wanted to kind of address Ron's comment. I do see that a couple of the emails that we received recently were from either current or retired law enforcement and a fire chief as well. So we are starting to get those comments via email.
Good. That's good. Okay.
When
I'll work
will
with
that document be available, the comments?
I'm not
guess
sure that would.
After these next sessions, I'd just be curious to read through all of the comments because some of them are going to be like these emails that are coming through that we haven't had a chance to see yet.
I know a number of them have been compiled, but they're coming through every day. So I'm not sure how quickly MCP is keeping up with that.
I mean, this is a question for the group. Do you want to create, do you want to receive a weekly roll up of what came in that week? Like you'll get one big drop of everything that's come in to date. Do you want to then get them on a weekly cadence? And what I don't want to do is get them in dribs and drabs because that's not fair. I mean, all of these are going to ultimately go on our website as being available for the public to review what the comments have been. So I don't want Emily having to update this on the daily. We could do an initial drop of everything that's come in as of, I don't know, you pick a day, today, tomorrow, and then every week we get an update. How do you guys want to do that?
I think that might be helpful. How are the comments being compiled? What I'd like to see, at least from my perspective, is to sort of categorize them based on whether they came from law enforcement, fire, EMS, dispatch facilities, the public, legislators. I don't know, you may be able to think of some other categories so that it makes it easy to see if there's some trends from the different portions of these communities.
I don't have the answer to that, but Bonnie has her hand up and I bet she might have some insight.
So to answer the question, how are we compiling them? As they're provided to us, we're developing a spreadsheet. And that spreadsheet is broken down into comments that we received on, during the town halls and listening sessions that were presented in the transcript. From that, those were recorded. So those are available now. We don't, and then the ones that we receive by email, that has a separate tab. Right now we cannot necessarily tell what that person's role is. So while that is a challenge, I don't know that we would be able to break it down to the level that you would be looking for. There'd still be some outliers. A question I do have back for the group is to what degree would these become public record? There are folks that decided that they did not want to speak publicly in the recorded forum to be able to provide their information via email in the online form, which gave us the indication that they wanted some sort of level of anonymity. So does that then fall to being redacted? Or now if it was just for this group, yes, I get that, right? But for the broader becoming public knowledge.
So I think that that it's not possible to withhold them from public release. The question is, can we redact the name of the person who is the commenter? And I don't know the answer to that. I'd have to ask the public records team.
The name
Right.
is included with the comment.
Right, that's
It
fine, but we can
comes via
redact,
email,
we,
yes.
right,
Right.
we will redact them if that is the appropriate thing to do.
Right.
So I don't know the answer to that, but I share your concern that it might thwart future input if people are uncomfortable that their thoughts are attributed to them out there.
Right. And in some ways, very personal thoughts. Right. So, yep.
Okay, we'll have to
I'll talk with
follow
our
up
team.
them.
Yep.
Yep. Okay, so I guess we'll need to get that answer, and then we'll need to figure out how to get the comments to the task force. All part of the same discussion. Correct? Okay. Okay. All right, we will work on that. In the meantime, sounds like there's consensus to extend the deadline to the 11th, to notify the stakeholders of that extension, do some directed outreach as part of that notice of the extension of the comment period to first responder agencies asking specifically for their input. We will get to work on that. Was there anything else on this topic?
Do we want to nail down a date for a final town hall session?
We can do that.
I just think that if I'm going to send out an email saying, hey, the inventory report has been posted, we've extended the feedback, and we're holding one more. This is it, last chance for feedback, right?
Right.
I
We
think
should
we
include the
put it
date. Yes.
all under
Yeah,
one
include the date.
roof.
Yeah.
So
I would say we should put it pretty late in that extended comment period, maybe the 8, 9, or 10, 8, 9th, or 10th.
yep, I would agree with the 8th, 9th, or 10th.
And we seem to get really good participation on the evening ones. At least that's what I saw with the community listening sessions. I don't know, other people can chime in on what would be the best time.
So that my impression was that we got better attendance from the public sessions in the evening, but not from the people who do this for a living.
Okay, fair enough. Yeah.
Our most robustly attended in-person one was the noontime one. And I'm not sure, I think the attendance was relatively same. Our morning, noontime, and evening one for the first responder town halls. That being said, what does the group prefer?
No preference.
No
All
preference.
of those are free on my calendar. Pick one.
Yeah. The evening ones work better for me, but I can be flexible. I mean,
Then-
I'd like to participate when there's some significant amount of, input. So whatever works for them, I'll make it work.
Then let's, do you want to do the 9th, Wednesday, the 9th at 6 p.m.?
Let me take a look at my calendar. We're talking the April, correct?
April 9th,
Yes.
Yes.
At what time?
6 p.m.
The
make that
only complication there is a prevent training at Waterbury for several EMS agencies that are going to be participating in that next rollout. it's an all day 9 to 4. So potentially we could all get back to attend the evening one, but it may be a lot. So maybe if there's no other conflicts on the Tuesday or Thursday, it might be better. Just throwing that out.
I'm going to be at a conference from the 4th through the 10th, so I will be incommunicado.
I hope it's somewhere nice because this weather is for the birds.
I know, right? I could
Well,
do the
agreed.
Tuesday and Thursday as well better. The Wednesday is a conflict for me, but
And,
Okay.
So the-
I am not available on the 8th, on the Tuesday.
All right, but what
So-
about
so-
Thursday?
Thursday, good to go.
Thursday the 10th.
Thursday, the 10th.
So moved.
Let's
Thursday the
hold,
10th.
let's hold that date, and we will communicate internally about who from the task force is
Yep.
going to be able to actually be there and show up for that meeting. Okay.
Sounds good.
And just to clarify, this is for aimed at stakeholders, not the
Mhm.
general public.
Correct. First responder, town hall, same target audience, which was
This- same as the first week.
communicators, police, fire, EMS, and local officials.
I think it's going to be important at that one because the version, the updates and everything won't be posted by then, correct?
What do you mean?
So,
The
Oh,
final
right.
draft will not be posted by then.
right. So we've heard a lot of feedback and are already, looking at the themes and the trends to what makes sense and where to emphasize the importance that these are options and things like that. This one here, I want to make sure that we'll be able to provide them with some information that there's still that they can respond to based on things that we have heard and are considering for those changes already instead of looking at the existing document and still having a lot of the same reactions again. Does that make sense?
Yeah, but I don't know how we can do that logistically.
I know that's
going to get
I
way
know.
too confusing.
Exactly.
I think maybe if we're just prepared to discuss it, if those
Mhm.
comments start coming up, it might be a good opportunity for at least a preliminary trends discussion.
Right. Yeah, if we can put some of those kind of classify the comments that we've seen again, just like Ron, you were saying, what are the themes and trends of what we're hearing and kind of classify some of the highlights of those that are already being considered to make updates to the report.
Okay.
Yeah. Okay. Thank you for that.
Yep. All right. I think we are. Well,
I have a
let me
question, if I
phrase it
may
this
ask.
way. Yes, Rick, go ahead.
So, regarding the inventory report, are we intending to make some edits to the section that we discussed last week regarding the call delivery, the cost of delivering the call, the modifications that we made? Because, it's clear that we agreed that there were some enhancements and modifications that we wanted to
Yes.
make. And there is a section that's already been published within the inventory report that includes that data. And I'm just asking if we intend to make a modification to that section to update it based on our conversation and decisions last week.
Yes, Rick, I am working on those calculations and those enhancements based on that conversation.
All right, thank you, Bonnie.
Then we can't wait, guys. Then it's not a finished draft. I'm not turning that loose if
Yeah,
we're
that's-
changing that section.
No.
So we can't release the inventory. What's your ETA on that, Bonnie?
Calculations end of the week.
So
Okay.
let me ask this. Didn't some of the cost per this information that we were discussing that went out in the system planning draft
It did.
anyway? Okay, so that's already on the street. So I think that it could be noted in both places that there's been additional discussion or information or however you want to word it And these numbers will be changing. Does that make sense? And that would not delay the release of the inventory report any further?
If a text box or some notation could be inserted to say this section is still under development, then that's fine. That's going to require some careful coordination because my team has the draft that is intended to go out and it is electronically redacted. We can't start from scratch. So
Right.
it's going to require working directly with my team to add something to indicate that that section is under review.
I
But that's
apologize
fine.
for bringing it up and
No, you
creating
got to
some
bring it up. I
chaos.
mean, this is people,
It's
everybody wants
important.
to get their hands on these drafts. Like, give me the
Yeah.
drafts. Give me. And this is
know.
exactly why it's confusing to put multiple versions of drafts on the street.
100%
So this
agreed.
is,
Yep.
it's unfortunate that the public records law, you know, is being used in a way that's causing us to put unfinished product on the street.
Yes. The
I think-
it could have cascade. I'm just trying to think broader, like worst case scenario, as we've received other, information from the agencies and stuff that could impact the cost, it could actually even impact some of the agency sections that have updated information. So I'm
So I think that we need to mark it as version 1 because it's clearly not the final answer. Probably notate that the cost of per call is under review and go ahead and put it out there. But by marking it as not finished, it's clear that changes are going to get made before the final release.
Yeah, and I mean, because it is very important that, and as you guys have all seen, as we've gone along in this process, more people started wanting to participate, or they're updating their information and things like that. At some point, this happens, it's not unusual. At some point, there will have to be kind of the proverbial, like, this is the last date for an update, and understanding this is a snapshot in time. Or
Right.
we'll keep going through this as then, oh, well, now we've updated our budget and we've updated this and we're in a new fiscal year and they're going to want those changes reflected, and that becomes unmanageable.
Right. So it sounds like we're going to add a note to the inventory report to indicate that some of these sections are still under review, and let it go. Let the report go out. Is that correct?
That's what I would prefer to do, because I think that even if the final numbers are not exactly right, I think it's important for people who are trying to provide feedback on the system design report to have the ability to see what the inventory and assessment was. So
Yeah, I agree.
I think we give it a title that indicates it's version 1 or draft format or something, and put that, particularly in the section that we know is actively being reworked, put a notation there, and then get it out and available, because I think there are some people who would like to dive into that, and holding it till the end doesn't give them the opportunity to have that piece of knowledge when commenting on the system design plan.
Okay.
Right. Do we need to vote on extending the feedback period, or is that just reflected in the fact that we've all had consensus about that and picked a date for another listening session?
Probably won't.
I don't,
Probably won't hurt to vote.
probably doesn't hurt to vote. So
Okay, then I would
wrap that all up into a motion, Jen?
Sure. I would make a motion that the task force extend the public feedback period by 2 weeks, now to end on Friday, April 11th, and that we add an extra town hall session on Thursday, April 10th, specifically designed to hear feedback from the first responder community and local officials.
I will second that motion.
Thank you, Ron. Any discussion, further discussion, perhaps? Okay. All in favor of extending the deadline and opening up a new listening session as just summarized by Jen in the motion, raise your hand or indicate by saying aye.
Aye.
Okay, great. I see all hands are up, including Michael's electronically. Okay, that is done. Is there any other new business for today?
Yes, when we are talking about schedule, I'd like to bring up should we have discussion at this time on the schedule for the updated system planning report? We've now extended the comment period, and we also have a follow-on funding workshop on the 21st. I don't imagine we want to do any update in between there. So the revised system planning report then would need to come out after that date, and we're probably looking into the May timeframe.
So I think it's important for the task force to weigh in on it, but that's actually a contractual issue between the Department of Public Safety and MCP. So I think that the task force should be aware of it and discuss the pros or cons of it, but that has to be done through a procurement office process. So the date that the quote final system design report was supposed to be due is the 28th of April, correct?
You mean per the contract, or?
Yes. Well, per the revised timeline that we discussed, that we had agreed to. Trying to find a calendar.
I think it was prior to that. Let's see.
Well, regardless of what the contract says, we've already extended it one time. So
Right.
let's bring the task force into this discussion, which in my estimation, if we are holding the final input workshop on the 21st, that it seems reasonable to me that we would extend the delivery date of the quote final draft of the system design report until Friday, May 2nd.
I'm wondering, and we may not know this, what the amount of time was that we had incorporated into the timeline prior to that. That sounds short to me.
I did find this. The previous timeline we had agreed upon was final draft on April 9th. Well, a final draft on April 4th, I'm sorry, and then the task force would confirm that final draft on the regular meeting on the 9th.
Okay, well, obviously that's not possible given the schedule
Right.
that we have set at this point. So
Right.
again, I would like to hear from the task force. If anyone objects to giving Mission Critical almost 2 weeks subsequent their last input session to provide the final draft of the system design report.
I think that's the
I
least
have no
amount.
objection.
Yeah, nor do I. I think that's the least amount of
Yeah,
time we
I
can
think that's
extend it.
fine.
Yeah, that works.
Okay. I
Okay.
think we should work with Mission Critical and Televate to find the right amount of time and come to agreement kind of through the contract process.
I
Okay.
support that, Barb.
Okay. Okay. All right, so we're good on that?
Thank you.
Sure. Any other new business for today? Okay. We'll move on then to confirming the next meeting date, which is in 2 weeks on April 9th, our next regular meeting. And if we are all set for today, is there a motion to adjourn?
So moved.
Seconded.
Thank you. All in favor of adjourning? Raise your hand
Aye.
or signify by
Aye.
saying aye. Thank you. Excellent. Everybody is in agreement and we're adjourned. Thank you very much. And we will see you again in 2 weeks and likely be talking to you in the meantime for sure. Thanks,
sure.
everybody.
Take care.
Thank
Bye-bye.
you all.
Okay,
Bye
thank
now.
you.
Thank you.